The topic for today was preparation for a FDA inspection. It is my strong belief, Vivek, that there is no such thing as a preparation for an inspection. You cannot prepare for an inspection. You just do what you do every day, and it is not possible to do something different on the day of the inspection. The whole thought process has to change. You cannot prepare for an inspection before the inspection. It is something that you do every day, and that the day of the inspection, your people are going to do the same thing that they have done the year round. So the way to prepare for an inspection is to prepare for it every day. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym every day and only then you have a healthy body.
What is it that FDA inspectors are looking for?
That's a nice question. Everybody asks that. Um,
Yeah.
there is a textbook answer to that, which I will give first, and then I will give you another answer. The textbook answer is they come looking for compliance. Are you compliant with the regulation? Are you compliant with your own SOPs? Okay. But I think there is a bit more to it than meets the eye. Just imagine foreign regulator comes to India, whether it is US FDA, MHRA, TGA, it doesn't matter. If it's an on site inspection, they come to India and they see the country first, they see the factory afterwards, and they come with some preconceived notions of what to expect. And this is where the inspection becomes interesting. Okay, if I say what type, how many types of inspection? You have a PAI, a pre-approval inspection. Then you have your GMP inspection,
Yeah.
and of course there are some for cause which we will not get into. PAI is very well defined. A PAI inspector looks for readiness to commercialize, conformance to your file, and data integrity. These are the three, and only three things that a FDA inspector would look at if it's a PAI inspection. Now, coming to a GMP inspection, you have six systems. We know that quality management, material management, production, equipment, laboratory, packaging, and labeling. No inspection typically covers all six of them, but they do cover two or three. And this is what the inspectors usually look at once they come to your site.
So I think that's the textbook part. And yeah, let's look at the other answer.
They are looking for what are you hiding?
Yeah.
What is it that is not meeting the eye? What are the telltale signs that something is not what it should be? So this is where okay. Let me be frank. Okay,
Yeah.
the topic for today was uh, it is my strong belief, Vivek, that there is no such thing as a preparation for an inspection. You cannot prepare for an inspection. You just do what you do every day, and it is not possible to do something different on the day of the inspection. So the whole thought process has to change. You cannot prepare for an inspection before the inspection. It is something that you do every day.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good analogy. And I'm seeing that, the perspective from the leadership in the pharmaceutical industry is kind of drifting towards that now, where inspections and quality systems, there's a proactive push from top down. And I think
Yeah.
everybody realizes that it's a very critical function or supporting pillar for the manufacturing output that we have. And now, ultimately, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't only impact the bottom line of the pharma company, but we are hearing a lot about drug shortages as well, and how issues in the quality systems are impacting the drug supply in the US. In fact, I think you have seen that report where nearly 62% of the drug shortages in the US were attributed to issues with the quality systems. So, what's your take on that?
Uh, Pharma is a different industry from everything else because it has a patient focus. And while the patient requires quality medicine, he also requires continuous supply of medicine. So it is the responsibility of every pharma industry to ensure that they keep dispatching quality product. The operative word is dispatch and quality both. Now, if you have a bad inspection, for instance, if you run into regulatory trouble, what does the patient do? You have to go through your own phase of remediation and clearing of inspections and all that. But meanwhile, what happens to the patient? And that's why it is very critical. The term that you hear every time is all time readiness.
Yeah.
And the all time readiness is the only thing which will help you uh, avoid any regulatory issues which will prevent supply.
No, I think that makes sense. So, Dr. Abhay, one thing which I've seen again and again, and I've heard it from many quality leaders specifically, is that the kind of issues you find in the uh, FDA compliance actions list, be it 483s or warning letters, uh, you know, they're focusing on similar set of issues across the industry at a given point of time. So the kind
Mhm.
of issues which companies get, they might look and feel almost exactly the same at times. I know that there's a standard script for every observation, but then even if you analyze the issue, break it down further, you see a lot of similarities and pattern. So according to you, why do you feel that the same or similar kind of issues keep on repeating, company after company, facility after facility, month after month? Why haven't we found a cure yet?
Let's look at things in perspective, Vivek. If I go back maybe 15 years, the focus of US FDA was more on facility. So the concept was that if the facility round has gone well, the inspection has gone well. Then about a decade ago, data integrity became a hot thing, and everybody was getting into issues with data integrity. Investigations was a major issue. That means your OS, invalid OS, deviations, essentially any type of investigation came into a lot of scrutiny. Post that, it was the audit trails of production, which was a part of the scrutiny. And today, if I'm not wrong, cleaning is a huge issue. This is the trend that I see. Okay. And this is largely speaking. Of course, there are exceptions to everything,
Yeah,
but this is more or less the trend. Having said that, one thing has been constant over decades, and that is data integrity. It is an issue which we have to resolve. There is no choice for us. But then it is data integrity is a cultural thing, Vivek. We are a country where if the traffic signal is red, to go or stop depends on whether there is a policeman standing over there and not that the signal is red.
yeah,
We are a country with jugad mentality. Jugad is not only looked down upon, it is glorified. Somebody who can do something by jugad is a hero. It doesn't work like that in pharma. That is not GMP. Even if it is for the betterment of the product, for getting a better yield, for getting a better productivity, or getting a better quality, there is no space for jugaad. You have to do
yeah,
what you have written and write what you do. That is GMP. But it is it's a little bit of a cultural thing for us, and we will continue to struggle till we resolve that.
yeah. Is compliance a burden?
It's your choice, Vivek. Do you want the burden of compliance or do you want the burden of remediation? It's your
Yeah,
choice. And believe me, remediation is more costly than compliance.
of course. Yeah. I think that brings us to an interesting juncture. We talked about the patterns which have kept on repeating, and thank you so much for taking us, all the way back to maybe perhaps 15 years,
Yeah, yeah,
starting from facilities and production data, and then investigations. And I think we are seeing a few more trends now,
yeah.
which was going to be my next line of thought, that
Mm-hmm.
today, let's say, to prepare for inspections, which I know you would not agree with so much, just to do better during inspections, what are the topics that the pharmaceutical companies should focus on in today's context? So if we have to take, let's say, top three uh, processes or themes that everybody should invest their efforts into.
Okay. Any industry which is involved in manufacturing would have four processes. If I if I think largely, okay, the procurement process, the production process, the testing process, and the dispatch process. Okay, these are the big blocks. If I talk about procurement, again, it comes down to vendor qualification, okay, um, vendor continuity. Same person should be able to continuously supply material to you, and production is largely how your processes are going on. Are they under control or not under control? Testing is all about your QC and labs. Do you have integrity issues over there, or are your analytical methods robust? That's what it comes to. And dispatch is all about your supply chain. Do you have a very effective way of getting your product to your customer in time or not? So these are the four things that require focus when it comes to uh, preparing for an inspection. If you got these basic blocks right, then I think you are more or less okay to face an inspection.
Yeah. But Dr. Abhay, it seems like a lot of work. You know, I don't remember this figure off the top of my head, but I
Mm-hmm.
think at some point we had analyzed the percentage of people in the company, in a pharma
Mm-hmm.
company, who are um, associated with quality function.
Mm-hmm.
And for pharmaceuticals, this number was well over 12, 13%. So I don't remember the exact figure, but it
Mm-hmm.
was somewhere between 12 to 15% of the workforce in pharma focuses exclusively on quality function. The
Mm-hmm.
second highest was, I believe, medical devices, and
Mm-hmm.
it was and for pharma the number was 5 to 6 times higher than the industry average. So it seems that and which is rightly so. I mean, we are dealing with products, as you said, we are building for patients, and there has to be an acceptable level of quality for the products to even leave the facility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems that while pharma has already put in a lot of effort and investment in hiring a huge quality workforce, they still have to be trained a lot. They need to be continuously provided enablement and tools and whatnot, to be able to perform really well when it comes to quality. So pharma as a function is investing heavily on quality systems, which is apparent by looking at data.
True.
Now, how do we think about it in a way that, let's say, efficient quality or lower cost of compliance? So we know that it's important, we know that it has to be done, we know that we need to fix all the cultural aspects, but I mean, there is only so much investment that we can make in this function, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a cost center. So how do we move towards reducing the cost of quality, if I have to put it in those terms?
Mm. It's interesting that you single out quality as a cost center, because to my mind, R&D is a cost center, production is a cost center, Business is a cost center. Everything, if you're in business, you have to spend money, right? And the answer that I will give is across the board. It is not for quality alone.
Yeah,
Okay. The only way you can reduce your costs, reduce your overheads, is by having better teams working for you. If you have a team which is really, it has skin in the game, it is dedicated to the task that it is supposed to perform, not disengaged, only then can you get the right output from your people. And tell you what, there is a pyramid with people like us at the top, okay, and we know nothing. The real information is at the bottom, and those are the guys who can make a difference. But do we have a speak up culture in our industry? Are people actually coming up with ideas and going to their boss and saying, hey, boss, let's do it this way. We will save this money. Where do you look for those ideas? From the top, you can do only a limited number of things. You can harmonize, you can have the same thing across all your factories. But the brass tacks are very much at the bottom. And we have to listen to our own people and be flexible. So, two things. One, encourage speak
yeah,
up in your teams, and second thing, be flexible to change the way we are working. And to my mind, that's how we can save on cost across departments. It's not only quality.
yeah. Or maybe you should just hire McKinsey and hope they would fix it.
That's a cost.
Yeah. Have you seen that video, which is a spoof of McKinsey?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
I'll I'll I'll, I'll send it to you.
Hmm.
So, no, it's a funny take on how I think consulting companies operate.
Yeah.
That just came to my mind when you said, people at the top, they have a lot to gain from the speak up culture, essentially gaining, access to the information which can help devise strategies, which can, help create plans which would impact the outcomes. So ultimately, I think, any strategy.
My take on this, Vivek, is you need consulting when you do not have in-house expertise. Okay, and I have used so many consultants in my life. Okay, and the success of consulting depends on the level of engagement which the senior leadership has with the consultant.
Yeah,
You cannot outsource your problem and expect somebody to solve it. It is still your problem. You are just borrowing some knowledge, some wisdom from a resource, and eventually you have to run with it. So, any consulting where the top leadership is engaged with the consultant will succeed. Otherwise, it won't.
right. So let's switch the gears a little bit. And I think we have spoken about a few critical issues so far. Let's just
Hmm.
pick two. We get ready for FDA audits. How do we do better? And second, we also looked at uh, how do we make it more efficient? How do we reduce the cost of quality?
Yeah.
Now, according to you, does technology have any role to play in both?
Uh, it's a no brainer. The answer is yes.
Yeah,
Okay. But that's the easier part of the story, saying yes. But adopting technology is not easy. It all depends on how much of an appetite do you have for technology? How much of a buy in do you have from all your stakeholders? And how adept are you at rolling out technology? Let's take an example. Even if I talk about something like LIMS, okay, which is Laboratory Information Management System, which runs in the QC, it's been there for decades now. But if you want to implement LIMS in an organization which does not have LIMS, you will run into issues if you have multiple sites, because every site has a particular way of working, and they are very comfortable in their own space. Getting everybody to agree to how things should work is a challenge for the top leadership. And that is where the true leadership gets tested. And when you roll this out, same is true for any EQMS that you decide to do. But having said anything about these challenges, I believe that technology is the only way we can make this industry more robust.
Yeah.
If you
So
if
I
you
guess,
continue to with the give me a minute, if you continue with your same logbooks and paperwork, there is a limited amount of insight that you can draw from that. But if things are digitalized at the click of a button, you can analyze data of 10 years, 15 years.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
And I guess there is no debate anymore that using something like AI can reduce the cost of quality. I'll give you a couple of quick examples that I see almost everywhere. Um, I think that a lot of companies have already implemented this, and the remaining will probably do that over the next year or so. So
Mm-hmm.
today, you know, the review of uh, the data, the process data on documents, which could be, let's say, captured, either on paper or even the printouts that you get from machines.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality teams today go through those line items one by one, spend a significant amount of time in making sure that the process data is first of all within adequate ranges. Second, there is consistency between what is coming out of machine and what do you have on the record, or let's say batch record, or any other instructions that you have followed, and ultimately you have a record. So comparing the accuracy of data as well as reviewing the ranges, and making sure that the data is kind of acceptable for that process to run in an effective manner. So
Mm-hmm.
quality teams spend a lot of time in doing that, which can be almost completely eliminated by just using, I mean, very, very simple AI tools, which can review these automatically. So that's something which I think an example of how you can enable your quality teams to do their work a lot faster and in a much more meaningful manner as well, I believe. I think second example which I'll give you is just I think the preparation of documents. So preparation of documents can be a difficult thing to do if you don't have structured data. So we know that because of let's call it legacy architectures, there are still uh, there is still a significant amount of pharmaceutical process and quality data which is unstructured in one way or the other now, which I think the quality teams then refer to. They create their documents by hand by typing on keyboard. So I think all of that burden can also be taken away quite effectively now using very,
Mm.
very simple AI tools. So these are just two examples which I think are I mean they are not debatable anymore. Everybody is doing it as I see them. So you know there is no question anymore that whether AI or technology will be useful in reducing the cost of quality. I think the question which, or at least, in my mind, in the minds of people who have spoken with, that how does it help you, you know, get ready or stay all time ready for audits, make sure that you don't run into compliance challenges. So how do you see the role of technology and perhaps very specifically AI in doing a better job when it comes to performing well in audits?
Okay, be it technology, you call it AI, you call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's the future. Without a doubt, I can say that that is the future. Now, how do we go about it? What are the challenges that we would probably face in implementing AI? And I speak for pharma industry. One is cost. So, first of all, the senior management has to be completely bought in that this is a good idea. We need it. This is the future. We got to go this way. Then, coming to middle management, there has to be acceptance. because people are so set in their own ways and they are so much in their comfort zones that getting them to move to a different way of working is the second challenge. And the third point I would like to make is for the people who are at the bottom of the ladder. For them, training. We have to make sure that our workforce is well trained, because no college is going to train you on how to use AI. It is eventually the responsibility of the industry to train its workforce. We know that now. So these are the three things which come to my mind when you ask this question.
I'll just add, a small, I think, snippet here. So, kind of talked about top, middle, and bottom. So I have seen it now too many times that the let's say things like kappas and who are doing investigations, people who are writing documents, I mean, they are using tools like OpenAI a lot.
Hmm.
So, you walk into a pharma facility, you spend some time with, people who are doing the work around you. You'll see probably half of them are already using simple tools like, ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So, so does then adoption remain a problem anymore? Because people are already using it in some way or the other. If they find it useful, they are using it, right? So is the real question then, is AI going to be useful?
That Vivek, to my mind, that is not the question. Is AI useful is not up for debate. Okay,
Yeah.
but adopting AI to maximize the gain that we can get out of it is an issue. Okay, and secondly, AI is after all a software. Eventually, it is a human being who has to decide how to use the output that AI gives you. AI is not going to solve any problem for you. All it's going to do is it's going to do stuff in an unbiased manner. There will be no human bias in the decision making, and it will process a huge or humongous amount of information quickly for you. But eventually, the decision has to be made by a human being on how do we use this information that's coming out.
Which I think brings us to something interesting. How are FDA inspectors thinking about AI?
Uh, I remember reading a paper on AI. FDA has actually published a white paper on AI. It's available on the net on the FDA website. What they have said is, I think they have got a couple of points. They say that when it comes to process design and scale up, AI models such as machine learning and all that can be leveraged to save time. Okay, so you can identify optimal processing parameters, um, or scale up processes and all that. So you can reduce your development time. That's the first thing that they talked about. Second one, if I remember correctly, was on uh, advanced process controls, where you have a process running and there is an in process check, and AI can be used to develop process controls that can predict the progression of the process. Okay, if it is connected with, let's say, a data logger or a real time sensor and stuff like that. Then there is, of course, process monitoring and fault detection. You can teach your machines uh, to identify defects. Again, this is nothing new. We have been doing it for years. Now it is just more advanced. Like, for example, if I talk about a packing line and you have got these bottles on the packing line, you do have a camera which you have taught what is the right label. And if it sees something which is not right, it will reject that bottle. So there are AI softwares for this as well. And the last one is trend monitoring. Like, for example, if I talk about consumer complaints or deviation reports or whatever it is. There are large volumes of information available. Um, AI methods can help us with the trending of these things, okay, and predict the thresholds for triggering kappas and evaluation of the effectiveness of kappas. And this is not my thinking. This is something that FDA has published on its website.
According to you, is AI only for large pharma companies and not for mid pharma companies? How do you see that debate?
Interesting question, Vivek. Everything starts with the big brother. When computers were new, who had the computers? The big companies or the small companies? Any new technology will comes in will always start with the big brother. But then technology being technology, it goes down the chain very fast. So I would expect big pharma, I would expect the bigger companies to adopt AI uh, more easily. But once it gets accepted at that level, sooner or later, everybody is going to do that. Everybody will adopt AI. Understand one thing,
I
whether it is
actually
the
have,
regulator,
yeah,
whether it is the regulator or whether it is the pharma company, our understanding of AI is also evolving, right? So as time goes by, the understanding and the acceptance, and probably also the cost of adopting AI will be such that it will be conducive to adopt AI.
right. I actually have a counterintuitive, thought on this topic, and I'm coming from, a few examples here. So I see that, because I think uh, larger pharma companies started investing heavily on building AI infrastructure about 5 to 6 years ago. And I think
Mhm.
about 5 years prior to that, there was a lot of resources being spent on building cloud infra.
Mm.
So it was about I think 2015, 2016, when many of the large pharma companies rolled out very ambitious projects which would then help them consolidate all the data from all the departments, all the subsystems, and build sort of a data lake.
Mhm.
There was a lot of progress, let's say a couple of years after that, and that's when I think a few large players started spending heavily on machine learning models. And I think you have touched upon the right areas that I think applying it for development is actually a lot more easier depend because of several reasons. But in doing so, uh, it seems that many large pharma companies have actually uh, built an infrastructure which is legacy now in the generation of the AI. So how do you retrofit your systems which you have already spent a lot of time and energy on? There are very large teams who are managing this legacy, I'm calling it legacy with no offense to anybody, legacy infra. And whereas some of the mid pharma companies who didn't do that probably don't have that baggage anymore. And maybe they stand a chance to move a lot faster and maybe gain some comparative advantage over some of their big brothers. If I use your terms, how do you feel about that
Mm.
take?
I think that's a very interesting point, Vivek. I can't contradict you on that one. And I
Yeah,
suppose that's the way things will continue to be. The big players will invest more, and their investments will become redundant at some point in time. Let's take a very simple example. Okay, I am a OSD manufacturer. I make tablets and capsules, right? And 20 years ago, I had bought all these compression machines and coating machines and all that, which were not Part 11 compliant. But over the years, All the new machines that I purchased were highly advanced. They had printers, they had audit trails, etc., etc. How am I running my business today? It's a hybrid model. I'm running this machine, I'm running that machine as well. Okay. So when it comes to uh, evolving AI, let's call it that way, evolving AI, some people have invested a lot in technology at some point in time, and that technology is going to get obsolete sooner or later. Maybe it is obsolete now. What do? You keep adopting newer technology and retiring the old. That's the only way this can work. Now, to address the second point that you said, Vivek, of the big brother being having a disadvantage because of higher investment, whereas the smaller player has skipped a generation. I think an interesting case study for us would be to see how telecom industry worked in the US and how it evolved in the US as compared to India. In India, we hopped, skipped, and jumped to 5G.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, it took a lot of time to reach 5G. We were a new player, but we had the advantage of the learning from the other countries, and we adopted newer technologies quicker. So that's the way things work, and it will always be the case.
Yeah, and I think, there was a huge leapfrog from landlines to mobile phones as well in a similar way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I agree with you.
Great. So, Dr. Abhay, we'll wrap up in a minute or so. Any final, uh, advice if you want to share with your peers, the leaders in the quality and manufacturing space on the topics that we have discussed today?
I don't have any advice, but I would definitely ask not only my peers, but all our viewers what they feel on this topic. Like, for instance, I am myself grappling with a few issues which I am not clear about, and I'll be honest about that. Um, let's talk about validation, software validation. Any software which is, just to take a name, TrackWise, you can name anything you want. If I have to validate it, I know how to validate it because TrackWise is TrackWise. It will remain the same for the next 10 years. AI, on the other hand, is an evolving tool. If I validate it today, because of self learning, it's going to be something different a year from now, maybe a couple of years from now. So, is it validated at that stage? Do I need to revalidate it? What frequency should we revalidate? What happens to the product that was manufactured in the interim? I would like to hear from our viewers in the comments, or how what they think about how to handle this topic. That would
I
be
think
all from
that's a
my side, Vivek.
really great question. Yeah.
Isn't it
And
interesting?
in fact, is I think thought-provoking. And for all the viewers, if you stay tuned, we'll bring an expert to answer those questions as well.
Fantastic.
Great. So, Dr. Abhay, thank you so much. With that, we'll call it a day, and we'll catch up soon again. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Great.
See you.